In monotheism, God alone suffices. But in polytheistic cultures, naming deities was essential. The Holy Scriptures mention gods like Baal and Dagon, reflecting divine plurality. Even the God of Israel had a distinct name for differentiation. At Premonition, we explore ancient beliefs and their impact on civilizations. Jephthah's dispute and the importance of divine identification. A well-known biblical episode exemplifies this dynamic: the dispute between the Israelites and the Ammonites over territorial rights. In one of the biblical texts, Jephthah, an Israelite leader, claims that the land belongs to his people by divine decree. However, he does not make a generic statement such as, "God gave us this land." Understanding the necessity of clarity, he acknowledges that the Ammonites attribute their possessions to the favor of their own gods. Thus, he specifies, "The land of the Ammonites is a gift from Chemosh, their god," while the land of the Israelites was granted by the God of his people, explicitly mentioning the divine name. This strategy of specifying the personal name of Israel's God not only strengthens Jephthah's claim, but also illustrates the importance of naming deities in a context where plurality was the norm. The specificity of divine identification played a crucial role in differentiating the authority and legitimacy of deities, reinforcing Jephthah's stance in a time when polytheism was the norm in the ancient Near East. Additionally, Jephthah's argument highlights a broader theological theme: the role of divine authority in territorial disputes. Ancient civilizations frequently justified their conquests and territorial claims by appealing to their gods. By drawing a clear contrast between YHWH and Chemosh, Jephthah was not only reinforcing Israelite legitimacy, but also emphasizing the concept that divine will was a guiding force in historical and political events. Archaeological evidence, the Mesha stele, and the name of Israel's God. The importance of divine names is also evident in archaeological sources, which preserve the name of the God of Israel beyond religious texts. One artifact that plays a crucial role in this context is the Mesha stele, also known as the Moabite stone. This object, dating back to the 9th century BCE, contains the oldest known inscription mentioning the name of Israel's God. Interestingly, it is not an Israelite production, but a Moabite monument that celebrates Moab's liberation from Israelite rule, attributing this victory to the intervention of Chemosh, the god worshipped by the Moabites. The stele narrates that Chemosh, at one point, was displeased with his people, allowing them to be defeated and subjected to the Israelites. Later, under King Mesha, Chemosh supposedly reconciled with the Moabites, granting them victory over Israel and restoring their independence. In a symbolic gesture of supremacy, the objects from the Israelite temple were captured and placed at Chemosh's feet, reaffirming the superiority of Moab's god over his rival. It is in this section, dedicated to the religious objects belonging to the God of Israel, that the divine name appears in inscription. The text, written in a variant of the Phoenician script, uses 4 letters corresponding to the Hebrew Yod, He, Vav, and He, known today as the Tetragrammaton, YHWH. This documentation, besides being the oldest, demonstrates the centrality of the divine name as a form of identification, a pattern that continued in later inscriptions. The Mesha stele not only provides historical corroboration of the Israelite-Moabite conflict, but also reflects the broader cultural competition between neighboring peoples, each attributing victories and defeats to their respective deities. Additionally, other archaeological finds, such as the Kuntilet Adrud inscriptions from the 8th century BCE, further support the use of the divine name in everyday religious practices, including blessings and invocations of protection. These discoveries reinforce that divine identification was an essential aspect of both statecraft and personal piety in the ancient world. The disappearance of the pronunciation of the divine name. Deciphering how the name of the God of Israel was pronounced presents two main challenges. Linguistic barrier. The absence of vowels in ancient Hebrew. The original writing of the name, consisting of the letters Yod, He, Vav, and He, presents a common problem in ancient Hebrew. All letters represented consonants, with no recorded vowels. To interpret it correctly, one had to already know the spoken form of the word. This system worked well as long as the name remained actively used in spoken language. However, once a word ceased to be pronounced, its pronunciation fell into oblivion. Without vowels to guide them, future readers had no way to retrieve the original sound from the writing alone. This is exactly what happened with the divine name in question. The Hebrew Bible itself offers no direct clues about how it was spoken, and variations of pronunciation in later traditions reflect attempts to reconstruct a lost vocalization. Historical barrier, the avoidance of pronouncing the name. At some point, the pronunciation of the name began to be avoided in the worship of the God of Israel and Judah. Initially, this was not the case. Ancient texts show that the name was widely used by both Israelites and foreigners in various contexts, from religious speeches to everyday communication. However, this practice was gradually abandoned, giving way to a tendency to avoid direct mention of the name. The question that naturally arises is, why did this happen? Historians point to two main possible reasons for this change. A strict interpretation of the commandment, the prohibition against taking God's name in vain, may have led to the recommendation not to use it frequently, out of fear of disrespect or desecration. A mystical belief in the power of divine names, some viewed the divine name as possessing supernatural power, and avoiding it was a way to protect this power, restricting access only to initiates or figures of great religious authority. Regardless of the exact reason, the result was a gradual process of restriction. Rabbinic texts from the early centuries, for example, report that the divine name could only be pronounced on Yom Kippur by the high priest inside the Holy of Holies in the Temple of Jerusalem. Among the Samaritans, a tradition states that the divine name was known only by the high priest, who would secretly pass it on to his successor. This practice reinforces the idea that the name had a deep, perhaps mystical significance, justifying its limited use. Over time, alternative titles such as Adonai, Lord, or Elohim, God, became substitutes for the divine name in Jewish worship and scripture reading. This reverence for the divine name persists today, influencing religious practices and theological discussions regarding sacred nomenclature and its historical implications. The substitution of the divine name in biblical translations. Verily, I declare unto you that the sacred name bestowed upon the chosen people of old was veiled by the hands of men who sought to tread with reverence upon divine ground. From the 3rd century before the birth of the Messiah, a great transformation unfolded, shifting the very utterance of the ineffable name. In the days when learned scribes, guided by divine providence, rendered the Holy Scriptures into the Greek tongue in a work known as the Septuagint, they did not transcribe the hallowed name in its fullness. Rather, they replaced it with Kyrios, meaning Lord, or Theos, meaning Gorud, lest unworthy lips defile the name too sacred to be spoken. And behold, this practice, initiated by the forebears of wisdom, has endured unto this day. In countless versions of the Holy Writ, the original name is veiled behind titles of reverence, some marked with distinction, yet still shrouded in mystery. Thus, many who seek the divine name grasp only its shadow, unable to perceive the fullness of its power. But I say unto you, the Lord's name is not forgotten. it lingers in the echoes of sacred tongues, in the breaths of those who yearn to call upon him as he once was known. And in this era of revelation, there shall arise those with the courage to seek the truth of his name, for that which was hidden shall be made known in due time. For consider the weight of the name, spoken by prophets and entrusted to the faithful. When Moses beheld the burning bush, the voice of the Almighty declared, "I am who I am," a proclamation of eternal sovereignty. And yet, through the ages, the sacred utterance was guarded, shrouded in mystery, until reverence became silence, and silence became forgetfulness. But the Almighty does not allow his name to be erased from the hearts of his people forever. As the world moves ever closer to the appointed time, there is a stirring among the nations, a hunger for the lost name. The hearts of many shall be awakened, and they shall yearn to call upon the Lord as he was once known. Falsehoods shall be stripped away, and truth shall shine forth, as the Almighty reveals himself anew to those who earnestly seek him. The veil shall be lifted, and the sacred name shall be proclaimed once more, with power and understanding. Let those who have ears to hear listen, and let those who have eyes to see perceive the signs. The concealment of the divine name was a test of faith, a measure of the reverence of men. Yet the time comes when what was hidden shall be restored. In that day, the faithful shall call upon the Lord in spirit and in truth, and he shall answer, as he did in the days of old. For his name is eternal, and no darkness shall extinguish its light. The reconstruction of the divine name, Yahweh, Jehovah, and other variations. Hearken, O seekers of wisdom, for the name that was concealed has long been the subject of sacred pursuit. Many among the learned and the faithful have endeavored to recover its lost utterance, striving to call upon the Almighty as the prophets of old once did. From their efforts have emerged variations: Yahweh, Jehovah, Yahu, Yahweh, fragments of a name spoken in the tongues of ages past. Two great pillars of knowledge stand as witnesses to this quest. 1. The Masoretic texts. Behold the works of the scribes, the Masoretes, who in the days of old preserved the Hebrew scriptures with great care. They devised vowel markings to guide the speech of those who read the sacred words. Yet, in their reverence, they inscribed not the true vowels of the divine name, but those of Adonai, Lord, or Elohim, God, lest its pronunciation be profaned. 2. The Greek manuscripts. Lo, the Greek tongue, unlike the Hebrew of old, bears the gift of recorded vowels, a guiding light in the darkness of uncertainty. From the writings of the ancients, Diodorus Siculus, Clement of Alexandria, and others, arise remnants of the name in forms such as Ayau and Yahweh, whispers of a sound once known, but now obscured by time. Yet know this, O children of truth, the pursuit of the name is not in vain, for the Almighty has planted the seeds of remembrance in the hearts of his people. The echoes of his name have never faded entirely, nor shall they be lost forever. Even now, scholars and believers alike uncover new insights, piecing together the fragments of divine utterance as if reconstructing a temple long left in ruins. The very heavens declare his majesty, and the earth trembles at his power. His name is written in the fabric of creation, woven into the songs of the stars and the whisper of the wind. Do not be deceived by those who claim that his name is beyond knowing, for the Almighty is not a God of confusion, but of revelation. He shall reveal himself to those who seek him with a pure heart. The prophets of old proclaimed that in the last days his name would be restored among his people, and the nations would call upon him as they once did. The veil that has long obscured the sacred syllables shall be lifted, and the world shall know the one who was, who is, and who shall ever be. His name shall be a banner to the faithful and a terror to the wicked, for in it lies power beyond comprehension. But woe to those who twist the truth, who forge false names and lead the flock astray. They shall be like chaff before the wind, their words scattered and forgotten. The true name shall endure as it was in the beginning, and as it shall be in the days to come. Therefore, let the seekers continue their search, and let the faithful remain steadfast, for the day shall come when the veil is lifted, and the name shall resound once more across the earth. Then shall all who dwell in the lands of men hear and know, and the knowledge of the Lord shall cover the earth as the waters cover the sea. Let those who have ears to hear, hear, and let those who thirst for truth drink deeply of this wisdom, for the time is at hand. Although the exact pronunciation of the divine name remains uncertain, its presence in historical, linguistic, and religious studies highlights its profound impact. The divine name has transcended generations, adapting to different cultures and traditions. Even without a universally accepted pronunciation, it remains a powerful symbol of spiritual connection and eternal significance.